How you doing, everybody? Brian Sr. here. If you are a true blue, red-blooded, liberty-loving, Bible-thumping, gun-toting, truth-seeking, fed up with the status quo, tyranny-smashing, tossing the tea overboard, American patriot, agent of change, then you are in the right place. We're going to put our heads together. We're going to do what Americans do best. We're going to solve problems. We're going to encourage one another as we lift up our friends, our family, our neighbors, and our country. The American dream lives here. So this is, I believe, the 6th episode that we've done. We started back in December. So I feel like I've gotten a little bit off track. We started this thing, like I said, back in December. And just so happens that the world got turned upside down in November, and just this domino effect of all these things that were going on. We went out to Washington, D.C. for the January 6th rally out there that turned into a little bit of a mayhem situation. It's not an insurrection by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think people understand what they're talking about when they're saying that. They're just trying to paint the ugliest picture possible. Shouldn't have happened. A lot of bad stuff. And we've gone over that in previous podcasts. But the point being is, when I started this, I kind of wanted this to be an excuse for me to educate myself, number one. But also I wanted to take what I've learned and put it out for public consumption. I didn't want to just be another podcast talk show. There's a million of those. There's guys that are doing it way better than I could ever do it. I kind of want to tackle issues more than current events. So I'm going to try to switch it up a little bit. I still want to do current events because that's important, but like I said, my original vision was to talk about big picture things that's going on in our culture and our society, not on a day-to-day basis, but the foundational bedrock of what we've built our society upon. I think there's a huge misunderstanding on a lot of those core issues and values that made America what it is today. So in the spirit of that, today's topic is going to be the language of the left. So there's several things that we need to do to take this country back, and I really want to start building. I want to go on each rung of that ladder and just take it up step by step, kind of in the best way that I can. There's certain things that we have to do that if we don't do those things, nothing is going to change. It doesn't matter. I've talked about this in previous podcasts. We want somebody in one of the top levels of government, say President Trump, to come save us all. It's not going to work like that. We have to do this from the ground up. That's how our country was built. If we try changing our government and the way things work from the top down, it's going to be like riding a bicycle backwards. You can do it, but it's not comfortable, and you can really hurt yourself in that process. We need to do it from the ground up, not from the top down. That's how our country was built. So, as always, I want to go ahead and start the podcast with prayer. We acknowledge here at Political Truths 832 that all of our strength, all of our wisdom comes from above. This country was founded on that belief system. I hold that personally near and dear to my heart. I know a lot of you do also. So let's go ahead and start with some prayer. Dear Lord, we love you. We praise you. We understand that you are in control. We understand there's no need to panic, Lord. There's nothing that surprises you. Lord, we just want to draw upon your wisdom. We want to draw upon your strength. We want to draw upon your discernment. We want to make sure that everything we do is directed for your glory, Lord. If we can win this country back from the ground up, it's not going to be because of anything we did or said. We have to contribute. We have to play a part. But ultimately, you are the one who decides who rules and we can rest in that. We can feel confident that it's all going according to your plan, Lord. We don't understand it, but we want to be a part of your plan. We want to be active. We want to turn this country back to you, Lord. We love you. We praise you in Jesus' name. Amen. So anyway, like I was saying, there's certain things that if we don't tackle these core things, nothing is going to change. It doesn't matter who we elect. It's not going to change. And one of those things that has kind of dawned on me that I think about a lot is the language of the left. If we can't define terms, we can't have conversations. And we can't let the left decide what words mean. Words have meaning, and they're just going around changing things. And we can't fall into that trap. I mean, we'll get into it. Some of the things I wanted to point out as far as the language of the left, great example, assault rifle. It's something they just made up. And now they use it against us. They beat us over the head with it every moment of every day, every chance they get. And by accepting that terminology, we have already lost the argument before we even get two sentences into it. And all of these examples are like that. Transgender, that term, it's not even a thing. It's something they made up. It's scientifically inaccurate description of what that condition, what that person believes, how that person acts, how that person dresses. Transgender is not the right term. So that's another one that I want to go over. Insurrection, I just mentioned that a minute ago. They're changing terms. They're saying that what happened there, whatever it was not an insurrection. So when we use that term, insurrection, we're feeding them. We're giving them power. We're taking away our logic and our reason that's on our side. They're disarming us by forcing us to use those terms. Another one is domestic terrorist is a new one. They're changing what the true meaning of that is. White supremacy. Like I said, I'm going to go deeper into all these. I'm just giving a list of what we're going to talk about. This is probably going to be a 2-part series because I don't think I can squeeze all of this into one episode. I'm going to do the best I can. White supremacy. I'm actually going to cover that one in this video, so I'm not going to go too deep into that. Gun control is another one. Let's see. Free. The word free, they're using that. They got that all messed up. Nothing's free. My t-shirt here kind of says it all. I don't know if you can see it. Nothing the government gives you is free. It's not free. And one of my things, it's not really a thing that the left pushes on us, but it's just something as Americans, we've kind of it's morphed into this whole idea of freedom versus liberty. You know, we all say we live in a free country. Well, that's not really true. We live in a country where we have great liberty, and with great liberty comes great responsibility. And I think when we talk about freedom all the time and use it willy-nilly, it just kind of loses the seriousness of it. So anyway, I'm probably going to cover that in the next video. Another one that kind of drives me nuts is the hyphenated American thing. You know, you're either an American or you're not. Now, you don't have to abandon your culture. You don't have to abandon your heritage. Nobody's asking you to do that. That would be insane. It would be a foolish request of anyone to do that. We are who we are. We can't forget our history. That's what the left is trying to do. They're trying to erase our history. We're not going to do that to people who come from Mexico or people who come from Africa or people who come from the Philippines or China or wherever you come from. When you come to America, we want you to feel like you're an American first. We want that. We want you, e pluribus unum, out of many one. We've lost so much of that in this country, that camaraderie of our fellow American countrymen. And we need to get back to that. So if anything, be an American African, be an American Mexican, be an American Somalia, American Irish, or whatever it is. Let's be Americans first. And we don't have to put away our heritage, but let's at least, everybody's talking about unite right now. And that's another one on my list, unity. The left, when they say unity, they don't mean what you and I think of when we think of unity. When they say unity, what they really mean is conformity. Okay, so that's something I'm going to cover in probably the next video also. Overturn the election. Oh my gosh, I throw up in my throat a little bit every time I hear the term overturn the election. That was never the goal of anyone, and it drives me nuts because I see President Trump's lawyers using this term, and it's not what the goal was. The goal was to legitimize an illegitimate election. So I'm going to go over that one in this video also. Another one, and this is one of the most devious of all of the terms. This is just from the pit of hell evil. When pro-abortion people talk about viability, okay, that one drives me nuts as much as any of them. And that I'm going to cover in this video also. So I'm not going to go too deep into that right off the bat. So actually, I had a list of topics here and how I'm going to cover it. And now that I just said viability out loud, I was going to save that for last, but that's going to go first. I got to get this off my chest. So when they say viability in regards to a fetus or a baby, they are muddying the waters. Viability, a child is viable from the moment of conception. Period. That's science. You cannot run away from that. And when we let them use terms like that unchecked, they have power that they don't have in a conversation. We have logic and reason on our side when it comes to viability, right? And they take all of that logic and all of that reason and they throw it in the basket and they disarm us. And that's their tactic on all of these terms. So let me explain. It's viable, right? The qualifying term that they use is the word if, right? They say it's viable. It's not viable if, at 12 weeks, that fetus is not viable if. If has nothing to do with it. It's until. That's the qualifying term. That fetus is in fact viable until you kill it. That's the only thing that makes it not viable. If that child is left in the environment that sustains its life, it will never be not viable. It will continue to grow and mature until the date of its delivery, which is exactly like the rest of us that have already been born. We will continue to mature until the day we go home to be with the Lord and grow and change. That's what the baby does. That's what the fetus does. So this term drives me nuts. So as I said, it's the wrong qualifier. If has nothing to do with it. The word if, it has nothing to do with it. If the baby isn't removed from the environment that sustains a baby's life, it will die. Yes, we know that. But that goes without saying. That does not determine its viability if you rip it out of the womb. It was viable before you ripped it out of the womb. It was going to mature and give birth or not give birth, but be birthed and grow into an infant and a toddler and an adolescent and the dreaded teenage years and a young adult and a middle-aged person, old person. It's always going to be viable throughout that entire process from conception. So the viability thing drives me nuts. So, I mean, think about this. The fact of the matter is, it's no different from a 30-year-old human being. I just talked about that. We would never say that an adult human being is only viable if it remains in the environment where it will not die. If you say that about an adult, someone would look at you like, what the heck are you even talking about? That makes no sense. But we've accepted this term in regards to a fetus. That's insane. They've already won the argument before we're 2 sentences into it because we've given them that. We can't give them that. That's a BS argument, this viability. And here's a good example. If you take an adult human and put them at the bottom of a pool indefinitely, they will die. Of course they will die. But that fact has no bearing whatsoever on whether or not they were viable before they were removed from the environment that sustained their life, right? It's the same thing with a baby. You take that baby out of the environment that sustains its life and it dies. Viability was not the issue. It was the environment that it was in. And we're just the same. You throw us in the bottom of a pool, we're going to die. You remove us from the environment that sustains our life, we're going to die. Viability is not even an issue, right? So that drives me nuts. An adult human is viable until you put them in the bottom of the pool indefinitely. An adult human's viability is not determined by whether someone decides to put them at the bottom of the pool, thereby removing them from the environment that sustains their life. It's no different for a 2-week-old fetus. Its viability is not determined by whether another human wants to put them at the bottom of the pool, so to speak. So this viability thing, don't give that to a pro-abortion person. If you're ever talking to them, make that point. Viability is not a valid argument because as long as that child is left in its environment, it will continue to be viable. It doesn't ever start to be viable. There's never a point where a fetus is viable. It's viable from the moment of conception till the moment of birth, right? The only thing that will take away that viability is if someone comes in and rips it out of the womb. And I've got some photos here. I should have showed these before I even started talking because you can't really have a conversation about this unless you know what you're talking about. And we have this is another thing, we've let the leftists make this an abstract argument on morality or rights. Rights. Tell me if anybody has a right to do this. Nobody has a right to do that to another human being. I don't care what stage of life that human being, that viable human being is in, from conception to old age and everywhere in between, that human being is viable. And for people to think that this is a right that someone has over another human being, I don't know how we got to this point, quite frankly. I don't know how we let this happen to where this is common logic, so to speak. It's completely illogical, but the logic of the left, this is okay. This is no big deal. So, like I said, that's something that just drives me nuts. One of the other terms that I wanted to dive into, and again, we can't have conversations. We can't have meaningful conversations with people if we're not talking about terms that are real, that have not been twisted and turned to a different meaning. I talked earlier about overturning the election. Excuse me, I'm thirsty real quick. I got my big cup today, or my wife's big cup, because this is big. These are big things, these foundational things that we have to focus on. We have to change the way we interact with leftists and with people who disagree with us on the other end of the political spectrum. Excuse me. Okay, so overturning the election. That one drives me nuts. All of these drive me nuts. I'm going to try not to say it drives me nuts with everyone, but just know that these all drive me nuts. There was never an attempt to overturn any election results. The only thing we wanted was the correct election results. We did not want false election results. We did not want manufactured election results. We wanted legitimate election results, not illegitimate election results. There was nothing about overturning. And the way this disarms us, the way this gives the left power, this term, is, let's say that they would have been able to find some court somewhere that had a backbone that wanted to actually review the evidence and have evidentiary hearings on all of the evidence out there for voter fraud. If they could find one of those courts and you won your case, Rudy Giuliani, Trump's lawyers, these other lawyers that were suing on their own behalf, if you won that case, now the left is going to spend the next 4 years saying, we won the election and they overturned it. That's not the case. You never won the election. You produced illegitimate results. It was not a win. So by President Trump's own lawyers using this term, they've lost the battle before it even gets started. And we keep falling for this. I don't know, these people that are elected, a lot of them are lawyers. They're supposed to be smart. Well, maybe not. I don't know. But they're supposed to be lawyers. If you've got a law degree and you sit in Congress or the Senate, you should know the power of language, that language matters. Why are you using these terms that disarm you? They take away all of your valid points just by accepting these. And it drove me nuts. I wasn't going to say that. I should find myself a buck every time I say that now. This has to change. We can't let them disarm us. Every time they use that term, I rolled my eyes and went, oh my gosh, there they go again. They're giving up. They're giving up the ship. Don't give up the ship. We can't give up the ship. We got to keep fighting. Yes, I said fighting. So what? Again, that's another one. I hadn't even thought about that. They've changed the terminology, what fight means. Apparently, if you say fight now, that means you want to overthrow the government. It's never mean that. It still doesn't mean that. But they're going to try to change that. And they've got people, I've heard Rush Limbaugh, Charlie Kirk, all these people that I enjoy listening to and respect. And they're like, every time they say the word fight, they're like, oh, I mean, disclaimer. Yeah, I don't actually mean fight. I mean, in a literal, not in a literal sense. No, in a literal sense, fight, not physically, not with guns, but fight. And we have to fight this stuff, period. There, I said it, fight. So that just means that they're going to, if you overturn the election, then they're going to say that you stole something from them. And they do this on purpose. So we can't let them do that. Insurrection. Oh my gosh. I was in Washington, D.C. I showed a video. Maybe I'll show another video here of walking from the Washington Monument to the Capitol. And as you watch this video, you let me know if there were any pitchforks and torches that you see in this. There wasn't. You know what? I was going to mention, I got big news. I wanted to mention this at the very beginning of the podcast so everybody would have the information, but we have an 800 number now. And we've had an email for a while, but I haven't really been promoting it. If you go to politicaltruths832.com, which, by the way, the 832, if you're new, the 832 is a reference to John 8:32, chapter 8, verse 32. And it says, you shall know the truth and the truth will make you free. That's what we're all about here. I may make mistakes. I may say things that aren't accurate. It's not going to be because that's my goal. Maybe I get bad information somewhere. We will correct it. We're only human. We're not perfect. It's not political perfection 832. It's political truths 832. So the 800 number, I'll put it up here, is 833-9-832-708. So 833 833-983-2708. I like saying it in a different cadence. I tried to get 832 as the first three numbers, but I couldn't get that done. But just so as a tool to remember, it's 833 9 832 708. The email is bwsenior, BWSENIOR at politicaltruths.com. Also, if you go to politicaltruths.com, at the very bottom of the first page, the home page, the very bottom, there is a contact us. And you don't even have to remember the email address. You can just go down there, put your name in, send a message, and it'll email us automatically. But I am excited about this because, as I stated before, America was made great on the ingenuity, the creativity, and the genius of the American people. This podcast is not about me. This podcast is about we the people. It's about making a difference in our communities and in our country. And I can't do this alone. You can't do it alone. We have to come together. We have to unite, and we have to draw upon each other's strengths and surrender our weaknesses. And that's the only way we're going to make progress at this. It's a long road that we got in front of us. So we need to pull together. So I want you guys to call 833-983-2708. Right now, it's just a mechanical recording. I haven't personalized the recording yet, so it's just going to say something like the person that you're trying to reach isn't available or something like that. But leave a message. If you have a comment, a question, if you have a topic you want to cover on the podcast, if you have something going on in your community that's helping, that's really making a difference, share that with us so I can share it with everybody else, and we can learn from that, and we can implement those things in our own communities. So this is kind of a big deal for me. I'm really excited. I want to hear from you guys. This is not about me. It's about we the people. So 833-983-2708. The email is bwsenior, SENIOR, at politicaltruths.com. If you have a line of work that's particularly interesting and something that we can draw from, who knows? Leave your name and number. I could get back with you. You can talk about issues that you have seen that can be dealt with. If you have something going on in your community, like I just mentioned, leave your callback information. I'll get back to you. I've done a couple of phone interviews, and if you got good stuff, we want to hear about it, man. So that's a big deal. I'm excited about that. Let's see. So now I forgot completely where I was. So I think we're talking about insurrection. This was not an insurrection. If it was an insurrection, and I said this in one of my previous podcasts, there would be 535 empty seats with a special election this month. They would all be gone if this was an insurrection. I was there. There were so many of us, there would have been no way to stop us. If we wanted to take over the government, we would have taken it over. My wife and I were there. We were just having a good time. We were kicking back. We walked to the Capitol. We were, I don't know, a football field away from the Capitol watching stuff go down. And the first thing we said, where are all the cops? What's going on here, man? They're just letting people go in. So it was amazing. We were on the back side. We were not on the front side. We were on the back side of the Capitol. But the thing that's crazy about this is that the House and the Senate had advanced warnings that there were going to be agitators in D.C. They knew people were going to come start trouble. They didn't beef up the security. You know, that's amazing. They purposely, in fact, in some cases, they purposely lowered the security for the event. So this was something they weren't opposed to this violence happening. They were kind of probably crossing their fingers, hoping it would. And it did. It shouldn't have happened. I think going inside of a government building, forcing your way in is a really bad idea, unless, of course, you are planning to take over the country. And then that's how you're going to do it. But I wouldn't recommend that. I'm not promoting that. So there were hundreds of thousands of people in DC. The Capitol Police had advance warning that there were people coming with bad intentions, yet they took almost no measures whatsoever to beef up security to protect the Capitol. Like I said, I'm trying to get away from current events. I'm going to do a short current event segment at the beginning of each one, but I want issues. I want topics. So current event, AOC, you've probably all heard that she was giving some long drawn out dramatic reenactment of what happened in the Capitol. Excuse me, saying that she was hiding in her office bathroom and some guy came in and yelled, "Where is she? Where is she?" And then it turns out she wasn't even in her office. So she was making stuff up. So she said she was in her bathroom thinking that Ted Cruz's plan to kill her was going to be successful. I threw that in. That's not what she said, but she did say that Ted Cruz planned to kill her with all of us going to the Capitol. So they're insane. They're not insane. They know exactly what they're doing. She knows what she's doing. She's not that dumb. Everybody says she's dumb. She's not real bright on certain subjects, but she knows exactly what she's doing with this propaganda. No doubt in my mind. It's just, we can't fall for it. People are saying, all kinds of stuff. Now she's trying to say that because she was abused, which, if she was, that's horrible. And my heart breaks for her. But to say because I was abused as whenever, you can't talk about the Capitol incident because I was abused. That's nonsensical. Like I said, my heart breaks for her. If she did suffer abuse, that's terrible. And she should actually go after the person that abused her. They're going to go after Brett Kavanaugh for supposedly something that happened in high school. Well, AOC, go after that guy. Whoever did that to you, let's go after him. Justice should be served on that person. Absolutely. Without question. But she's not going down that road. I don't know her intentions, but it looks a lot like she just wants to shut down conversation about the January 6th incident by saying, pain compounds on pain or trauma compounds on trauma. So I don't know what her purpose is with that, but she knows what she's doing. But she was traumatized by this January 6th thing, which, that would be a scary thing for sure, to have 100,000, 200,000 people outside mad at you. But I got to watch myself because not everybody there was mad. In fact, only like 0.00001% are mad at that thing, were mad. I'm not even sure that they weren't agitators, professional agitators from the left. I don't know. But she doesn't seem to be too upset about why she was so vulnerable that day. I haven't really heard her or any other member of Congress actually, or the Senate, say, what the heck happened here? Why did you guys leave us naked and exposed and vulnerable to all of these people outside? Where's the hearings on that? Where's the Senate Judiciary Committee? Where's the Intelligence Committee? Where are all these hundreds of committees that all of these people have in Congress and the Senate? Why are there no hearings on that? Who's responsible for leaving them vulnerable? Ultimately, the way I've heard it is Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell are respectively, both of them are responsible for, they're directly in charge of the Sergeant at Arms for the House and the Senate. Sergeant at Arms is above the Capitol Police Chief. I don't know the exact terminology on that. And apparently they all had information. I don't know how high up the food chain it got, how up the flagpole it went, but I would venture to guess that Pelosi and McConnell both knew there was a threat. And they didn't bring in the National Guard the day before. They didn't have exaggerated or enhanced police presence. Um, so the insurrection thing, I don't like that. Like I said, the dirty, you know, as I just said, where are the committees to find out where the breakdown occurred? Who's responsible? The dirty little secret is there was no breakdown. There was no breakdown in the system. Um, I can't speak to their motives, but they didn't want to have enough security there to keep them safe. We can draw our own conclusions on that, but there was no breakdown. They had exactly the amount of security that they wanted that day, even though they had advance notice of some stuff maybe going down. So, the next topic, the next terminology that I want to address is assault rifle. And I lose my mind every time I hear someone from the NRA or one of these other Second Amendment groups that are supposed to be there to protect our rights or file lawsuits to protect our rights. Whenever they use that terminology, I want to freaking throw my TV out the window. They're falling into the trap. And they're disarming themselves. They're getting rid of logic and reason, and it's just very frustrating for me. Again, these are lawyers; they should know the importance of language. Why are they using the language of the left? We all have to stop doing this. So, I guess the origin of this, I've heard a couple different stories about this, but in the 80s. The leftists started using it because I don't know, they focus grouped it and found out that assault is a scary word that makes people cringe, and so if they can attach that to weapon, then all of a sudden they have a big scary thing that they can convince people that we have no need for in our society. If you bought an AR-15 in California before July 16th or July of 2016, I'm sorry, you broke no laws. You did a background check. You bought a perfectly legitimate, legal self-defense weapon. You had a legal firearm. Everything was on the up and up. It was totally legal. Then one day, Jerry Brown and the state assembly decided to make you a felon retroactively. You already own the rifle, and now they're saying it's a felony to own that rifle. There were conditions. You basically had three choices. Number one is register your sporting rifle, your self-defense rifle, as an assault rifle. In other words, make a legally binding confession that you are an irrational, evil person who hates humanity so much that you feel the need to own an assault rifle. And obviously you want to own an assault rifle because you're probably planning on being the next mass murdering psychopath. Because the only reason, there is no valid reason to own an assault rifle, right? That's the whole point of bringing the term assault rifle in, because now they're saying nobody needs to own an assault rifle. There's no reason for it, right? So there's no reason to own no valid reason to own an assault rifle unless, of course, you're planning to assault someone, right? That's the logic. That's the road you go down when you use that. If you're not planning on assaulting someone, then you don't need an assault rifle. So we fall into these traps and we can't do it. And the funny thing is, if you look at some of these pictures, I'm going to throw some pictures up here of an assault rifle versus a non-assault rifle. The things that they've outlawed are just have no bearing whatsoever on the lethality of the rifle. There's no connection between the parts they've made illegal and lethality of the rifle. It's insane. So So you had a second choice. The second choice was to replace the assaultish-y, the parts that are assaultish. I know that's not a word, but it sounds funny. I like saying it. You could replace those parts at your own expense. Or number three, you can dismantle your firearm and turn it into, I don't know, maybe a series of paperweights. So those were your three choices. Admit that you're a bad person and you have a desire to assault people by owning an assault rifle. Because if you register your gun, that's what you're doing. And if you register your gun, another side effect of that is if they ever pass a law that says all assault rifles, God, I hate saying that, are illegal, then now they have documentation that you have one and they can come to your house and take it. So some of the things that they use to qualify a rifle as an assault rifle, pistol grips. So if you can put your thumb around the grip, you can hold a rifle like this and put your thumb around it. It's more deadly than if you put your thumb here. And there's a picture up here of the new little fin thing that they have to make this rifle less lethal. Think about that. Look at those two pictures. The rifle is not any different. It's still as lethal as it ever was with the little fin on there. And then just, I don't know if you guys have seen the California compliant milk jug. I love that. That was funny. So that's one of the things that makes the rifle more dangerous. It's so illogical, but we've all accepted these terms. We can't accept these terms anymore. So the forward grip. So here's a picture of a forward grip. So if you hold a gun like this, it is an assault rifle. If you hold a gun like this, it's not an assault rifle. It shoots the same amount of bullets at the same frequency with the same effect on the target, like this or like this. It makes no difference. They're just trying to outlaw every nut and every bolt and every pin and every piece of the rifle to where it's death by 1,000 paper cuts. One of the other things I'm going to go over in one of the next videos is the definition that they use to the official legal definition that they use to decide if a weapon is bannable. And that threshold that they use, the metric they use is it dangerous and unusual, which we'll go into that on the next one. But those are two very broad and very vague definition of terms. Is there a gun out there that's not dangerous that I'm not aware of? So they're already 50%. They're halfway there to outlawing every gun in the country if they use that legal terminology. And there was an actual court case where that was what they codified as the metric to where they can outlaw a particular weapon. So they're halfway there on every gun in America. Let's see what else we got here. Telescoping or collapsible stocks. So if your rifle has a long stock and you're out here with it, and then you want to shorten the stock so that you're not out here, now you're here, that increases the lethality. But they never really made it clear if being here was more lethal or being here was more lethal. Most AR-15s with the telescoping butt stock have 3 positions. So you can be way out here, right here, or way in here. So they as far as I know, they've never specified which of those three positions is the most deadly. I don't know. We just accept this stuff, man. I don't know. We can't do it anymore. We can't give them that advantage. They already have every advantage in the world. They own all the courts, most of the courts. They own the media. They own everything. The big tech. For goodness sake, we got to at least take our language back. We have control of that still, I hope. Let's see what else. Threaded barrels. I think the reasoning behind that is that you could put a silencer on a threaded barrel, which it's still a deadly weapon, whether it's loud or it's quiet. It doesn't change anything. I guess the thinking on that is if you have a sniper or something somewhere, that you're going to be easier to locate them if they don't have a silencer, which kind of makes sense, but I don't really know anybody that has a silencer. But flash suppressor. So again, that doesn't change the lethality. They might be thinking that you can see someone from far away if they don't have a flash suppressor. In California, where I live in California, seems like a flash suppressor would be a mandated thing because you don't want to start fires, right? You don't want to burn down the forest. If you're shooting out in the forest, you got this big old flash, you could burn down the whole forest, and then we'll all be without power. Grenade or flare launchers. This is another. Some people would say, okay, you don't need a grenade launcher. A flare launcher, I don't think that's going to kill anybody. It's just me. But I think they're interchangeable. You can use one or the other with the same piece of equipment. One thing that I always try to press on people is you can call it an assault rifle. It's a made-up term. I don't agree with it. I'm not going to acquiesce to using that term. I'm using it on this. It's hard for me to say that term over and over because I really am trying to change the way I talk and not use that term. But let's say it is an assault rifle. God, I hate that. Assault rifles are covered under the Second Amendment. They are 100% covered under the Second Amendment. There is nothing in the Second Amendment that says you can't have a military style weapon. And that's another term that is, I don't necessarily agree with, but I guess military style would be full auto or 3-round burst or whatever. But if you're a purist, a Second Amendment purist, then there's no problem with that either because it's all covered under the Second Amendment. The whole reason for the Second Amendment is to either stop your own government from oppressing you or to ward off invading countries. And people say we have the military for that. Well, yeah, but the military isn't always successful. And I don't want to hide in a corner and wait for someone to come save me. If there's a threat in my neighborhood and, like let's say the Chinese start paratrooping, sending paratroopers in and landing in people's neighborhoods, I'm not going to call the police and say, hey, can you send the National Guard out right away out here to, my street that I live on? No, I'm going to defend my family. And I don't have any automatic rifles. That's illegal. But the Second Amendment covers that. And why shouldn't I be able to protect myself with the most effective self-defense weapon available? So that's, if you're a Second Amendment purist, maybe you take that stance. Then people say, where does it stop? Are you allowed to have nuclear weapons? Well, come on, let's not be dumb. I can't afford a nuclear weapon or a jet or anything like that. So I've shown some pictures of all this stuff. If you look at a side by side of the California compliant versus the assault rifle, quote unquote, you look at it and it's just any person with any common sense. And that's the thing is the people that go along, oh yeah, assault rifle banned. Yeah, yeah, we need that because I'm just a normal dude and I don't know anything about guns. It's not their fault. They don't know. But if they were to look at these two pictures side by side, I wonder what their response would be like. Does this make you feel safe? No, it doesn't. Okay, then you're not insane. Maybe that would be something fun to do on the street is show people pictures of the California compliant non-assault rifle versus the evil dreaded assault rifle and see what their response is. So I'm running out of time. I'm way over on time, actually. I wanted Gracie, be quiet. That's my dog. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this off now. We got more definitions of terms that we're going to cover in the next video. I wanted to get to white supremacy because let's face it, white supremacy is a myth. Is there anybody out there that thinks white people are superior to any other race? And some folks would say, yes, there are people that believe that. Okay, they're delusional. It doesn't exist. It's not a thing. But they use it to try to stir the pot to get people angry. It's a term designed to get people mad. So anyway, I'll have more on that on the next video. I have to cut this one off because we're already up almost to an hour. And I really wanted to keep these things to a half an hour. And I've kind of overstepped my bounds that I set for myself now. But I'm passionate about this topic in particular, and I want to do more of this. I want to cover the abolitionist movement throughout the United States. Everybody wants to talk about slavery. I'm fine with that. Let's talk about slavery. It was horrible. It should have never happened. It was a tragedy against humanity on every level. We all understand that. But let's have an honest conversation about it. There were people from the very beginning, before this country was even founded, in the colonies, there was an abolitionist movement. The abolitionist movement was strong in this country. And we need to talk about that. I want to talk about that. I'm doing research on that right now. I don't know if it's going to be a few weeks down the line before I can put together enough research to put together a coherent presentation on that. But there's other topics I want to cover. I'm looking into the Convention of States, Article 5, Convention of States. There's a movement out there to where the states can go over the heads of Congress and the Senate to make constitutional amendments. So I'm starting research on that. Like I said, I don't want to ignore the day-to-day topics and current events, but my original intent for this podcast was to go much, much deeper than that. And I want to get back to that. And like I said earlier, because of all the election insanity and everything that all the insanity that's happened week after week after week, I've been kind of drawn into those current events because it's important we talk about that. But I do want to cover these bedrock foundational school choice. I want to talk about that. I want to do an entire episode on that and why that's important. So anyway, I'm way over time. I had a great time. I hope you did too. Go to the website, politicaltruths832.com. Contact us at the bottom of the homepage. You can send us a note, send us an email, tell us what you like, what you don't like, what you think we should do more of, what we should change. I have the number now. I want everyone to get involved in this endeavor. The number 833-832-708. 833-832-708. It's just so important that we pull our resources together, that we, where I am weak, someone else is strong out there. You guys have a lot to offer. We need to band together. We need to join together. We need to feed off each other's strengths and help each other up in our weaknesses. And that's how we're going to do this. We have to take our government back from the ground up. That's the only way it's going to work. Political Truths 832. I'm out.